You got the evil sin of Jesus, Lord.
Sorry.
I saw my light flash before my eyes, and she was all like, blah, blah, blah.
I'm sorry.
Look,
It's
I'm
not.
just gonna keep that. Go ahead.
Oh, we're recording?
We are.
Oh, well, awesome.
Sorry,
Yeah,
it's
so-
not my fault that I cough so much. I can't help it.
Yeah, she's got a 97-year-old smoker's lungs. No, I'm just kidding.
Petals yet.
Beat you up.
Yeah, so, hello, everyone. We're back. Dinosaur story. We have Moxie with us. We're back after our mental break last week. We just took a moment to find our zen again.
I think it's good to have like one day where you just chill and you don't do nothing. So that's why we have it once a month.
Yeah.
And we literally recorded this like 4 times. So that's the 5th time I'm saying that, and I mean it every time.
Yeah, if you read our post, we're having some technical difficulties, between the microphones and the computer, and, it's...
It's because we got 2 computers now that we've set up, so the cords just wanted to be a booger today.
Yeah.
But, it's okay. We got it. It works.
The cords didn't want to work out at all.
And we got Moxie.
Yay! There was so many emails that I've heard that have asked for Moxie to come back. So
It was really sweet.
I think that's really, really sweet.
It
People
is.
want me to come back.
I know. We're happy to have you back.
Yay!
You got.
I'm here.
We got a lot of emails for it, and
I
a
still
lot
have
of people that recognized you. Probably some of your friends. They just didn't tell me their
Yeah,
names. So.
but I still have some stories.
Exactly.
So
There you go. Brand new stories, old stories,
Yep.
stuff for y'all to learn from her from.
all the naked stuff.
All of it. But naked.
But
Without apparel.
I like it.
In a PG
Okay.
version way. But
We're actually going to take a break from the smear campaigning because we got like one more guest we really want on. But if she's not going to come on, then she's just going to write her letter, which she's in the process of doing. She's in school. Okay?
Oh,
That's why it's been back and forth and kind of crazy. She's in school. So,
yeah.
but we are going to do the toxic moms. We ended up getting an email
Yes.
back
Mm-hmm.
from one of our listeners who had wrote in before about her mom being a narcissist, and that was actually I think the first time that Moxie was on here. Everybody
think
thought it was
so.
her. They were
Yeah,
like,
everyone
it's
was
you.
like, "Oh my god, it's Moxie! Why did Moxie write this?"
It was totally not her, by the way.
No, I mean it
live and
sounds
breathe.
it sounds familiar. It sounds
does.
really familiar.
You have a doppelganger.
Yeah, I know. I have a twin.
How does it know that there's someone out there who lived your exact life and knows exactly what you're talking about?
Oh
no.
wow!
I hope that she comes and finds us one day so we can meet Angel's twin.
Well,
Yes,
the one that
I
was...
need to meet my twin. My twin. If you're listening to this, please come find me.
Yeah, because remember, I had one too. The guy, that was in, his situation, was exactly mirroring mine. And I'm like, why is this...
He needs to write back too.
Yes, he does. If
that
you're
was-
out there, dude, like when you're in your in your marriage where you're trying to figure stuff out and it's just
No,
not
he wasn't
working.
married yet.
Oh yeah, it was your girlfriend and you wanted to marry
Of like
her.
7 years.
Yeah, you were gonna marry her, but then you decided like you didn't know if it was the right path because she was doing all these narcissistic things and these love bombing and.
How dare you take
I'm
Haas's
sorry.
thing?
I don't mean to cough. My throat's
That's
been
Haas's signature cough.
my throat's been acting up today.
We apologize for Moxie. She's
I've been coughing.
She just moved from, a different household where it was...
Didn't have diffusers.
It didn't have oil diffusers and natural herbal scents, so it's kind of the same thing when I moved for the first time and got, a different air, a cleaner and less stressful air, so it's...
Yeah.
Your body takes time to adjust.
It's finally now hitting me. All the coughing and
He
sneezing.
used to cough all the time. Like, he coughed for probably a good, 6 months.
Oh.
Yeah. We thought it was grandma's, remember?
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
One more.
Nope.
Sorry.
So, yeah, without
Thought it
further
was
ado...
dust. We were like, oh, it's just the dust with the blankets.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Moxie is going to start us off with a reading from the listener who is now a 2-time writer.
I know.
I know. It's so cool hearing you guys like
It's really awesome.
Right back.
yeah,
Yeah.
like once you write in and then we read your story and give you the advice, it's really nice to hear a follow-up of like, hey, I listened to that episode where you read my story and I think it's really cool, so I really like what you guys are doing. Here's some more content.
Yeah, I like
I
that.
really like that too.
Oh, and your dude man, tell him to write back.
Yeah.
I interrupted, so
Yeah.
my bad.
Oh yeah,
Right
most
back,
definitely.
dude.
Right back,
Yes.
man, and I'll touch on it because I got all the details. But
Y'all can meet up and go to the gym.
yeah, we can go to the gym. You know, I like food.
Who doesn't like food? Food is delicious. Food's life.
I don't know anybody that doesn't like food.
I
Everybody
know
likes food.
someone that hates mac and cheese. They just hate cheese in general. I know.
Yeah, we don't speak to those people.
It's the look I'm giving you.
The look
hurt-
is of
It hurt my
disappointment.
soul. I love cheese.
How
Cheese
do
is so
I
good.
get through one life without cheese?
You don't.
Exactly.
You don't.
But-
It's sad.
Indubitably.
Okay,
So-
she's ready.
So, the email from our good old friend, my doppelganger, says this. Dear Trash Talk, I wrote in a few months ago, and I can say now that my relationship with my mother hasn't gotten better. At first, she was loving, wanted to listen to what I had to say, and was confused as to why I did what I did. Then the talons came back out when I asked a question she wasn't ready for, and told me if I chose to believe a certain way, then I didn't deserve to have a mother. This was July 4th. We haven't been in touch since. I miss my mother, but I wish she would open up to me about the tough conversations and actually treat me like an adult instead of like a child who can't think for herself. I know she's lying about a lot of stuff and sugarcoating it to make it seem less than what it is. I'm still listening to you guys. Y'all actually helped me a lot with the first episode you had with my email. My name is Alex. You can definitely say my true identity, as I'm out of the house now, so I'm not too worried about her getting any angrier than she already is. Lol. Thank you guys for being you. You're like the friend I needed. Your stories mean a lot to me.
Lol.
She did. She said lol.
I gotta add in that little lol.
I like it.
I'm telling you.
Let's say I like it too.
So like
I
you, that sounds a lot like your upbringing as
It
well.
does. Yeah.
You know, the doing one thing and then totally denying it or dodging around it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I left, I was actually taking this. I was like
Why?
2 days after turning 18. I wasn't in like the best environment, and me and my mom didn't have the best relationship at the time because there was just a lot, you know. We had lost our nanny, we had financial issues, there was a lot going on in her personal life. You know, we were all growing up, so I know that wasn't easy for her, but just like at the time, I didn't see it that way. I saw it as like my mom, you know, hates me, doesn't want me around or anything like that. And back then, you know, she said like a lot of out of the way stuff because she was angry. You know, people will get angry and just say like a lot of hurtful things just to say them, which isn't okay. But it took us a while. Like, say I left when I was 18. We probably didn't have like a real good relationship until I was like 27. So it takes time, and I wouldn't say that my mother totally was like a toxic parent. It's just she had very toxic ways at the time, which, you know, she's pretty open about now. But back then she was not. She denied it. She was like, you know, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you choose to believe a certain way, then you go ahead, like stuff like that. She was very defensive. But it took time.
Yeah.
And over that time, like, we worked on ourselves, we worked on our relationship, and it's a whole lot better now than it was. But back then it was not. Like, everything that I said kind of started like an argument. And I know I probably like had a lot of growing up to do. She had a lot of growing up to do. There's a lot of growth that just needed to happen within ourselves as well as together. And when you have somebody that actually wants to work with you, it's way easier.
Yeah.
But if you have somebody who's going against you all the time, it's so hard. It's so hard because it makes you feel like everything you remember is not valid. So it's not important.
Yeah.
And I hated that. I was like, my feelings are important though, but I had a lot of growing up to do. First, take accountability, and then make sure that the person that you're with also takes accountability so y'all can work on it together. And man, I used to get so jealous about other people's relationship with their mom and stuff. Kind of like how people say about Kira.
Yeah.
They're all like, man, I wish I had like a mom like that. And I was like, shit.
Yeah.
Who you telling? You preaching to the choir. I didn't see that.
Oh.
Let me see it.
Oh.
Oh.
And then y'all can say something. Hang on. Dog paws.
Without the hold on. Roof, roof, roof.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're good. If
Yeah.
you want to, it's totally fine.
Okay.
We're having like a discussion.
Yeah.
Where we're not
It's
going
a
quiet
little
for no
silent
reason.
discussion. It's a little silent
It's-
discussion.
A little silence of the lamps. No, I'm sorry.
It's a casting thing.
Yeah. We're like using our hands, making faces.
We're making faces.
Yeah,
We're
this
making
is,
hands.
Like,
I said dog paws. Yeah, if you want to, if you're
Okay.
comfortable, that's
Yeah, I
totally
didn't,
fine.
this is kind of a faraway subject for me because I didn't really have the toxic mother or toxic parent. It was a little bit off key. It's more so the forgotten child versus the abuse and whatnot. Granted, every parent has a favorite regardless if they tell you or not. Especially if you have multiple siblings. For me, it was my brother. He was the first to do everything, the first to get toys, the first to get gifts, the first to get a car, and then for my sister, she was the only girl, so she was favored by my dad, and, it's like, she was the first one to, have a kid, so it's like, oh, okay, when my brother went away, she pretty much took his spot of, like, the favorite. I was just kind of left out, so I didn't, as far as the toxicity goes, it's not my expertise, although I know plenty of toxic parents.
yes.
Yeah, because you had like a good amount of friends too,
Yeah.
and they like their parents loved you, but
Yeah.
they probably treated your friends, like a certain way, and you're like, Psh, why they love me, but they treat them like that?
Mothers have always liked me for some reason.
Mothers
Well-
just like you.
That's because you're a likable guy.
Oh, shucks. Yeah, what are your thoughts on this one there, Moxie?
Well, I do have a pretty toxic mother.
Yeah.
It was pretty wild ride.
Yeah.
It's why I kind of moved out. She was one of the partial reasons of me moving, was because I couldn't handle the toxicity anymore. There was a lot of arguments, there was a lot of drama, chaos, and my brain and the stress couldn't deal with it anymore. So I had to get away from it all, escape reality. So
Yeah.
I had
I
to.
get that. That's how I was
Yeah.
too. Once I actually got out, it made me realize how much more clarity on like a lot of things that were happening around me that
Yes.
was kind of, I guess, blindsided because of what I was going through. So I felt like I missed out, on the world around me. Not just on, like events or birthdays or anything like that, but like everybody has all these stories of growing up a certain way, like them going to their friend's house whenever they wanted to, or having sleepovers whenever they wanted to, or prom or anything like that. I don't have that.
Yeah.
I had an overprotective mom, which I'm grateful for to an extent.
Yeah.
Because naturally I don't trust the world.
Yes.
I have a daughter, so I get it. I understand that now. But at the time when you're a teenager, you don't think like that. Yeah. You think that, your mom's taking you from everything, that she's, making you pretty much non-existent to your friends. That you don't have a friend. Your chores are your friends. Like, that's the way it felt anyway at the time. And I know she was just like scared. I know that now. But back then, my mom was not a nice person. Yeah. She admits that now. She's pretty open about it with us now. But we weren't like the best at communicating. And I didn't use the right words. So when I was like, why'd you keep me from everything? Like, why'd you hate me? Like, because you don't have really good words at that time. Yeah. But I know for you, it's different than it was like for me. Because that was like 2005 when I left. And I graduated. I was married when I was, graduating in June of 2006. So life happened too fast for me in that moment because I felt like I was missing out or I had missed out. So I was trying to play catch up. So it has effects on you when you have like a parent that, in your words is toxic, has toxic behaviors, says toxic things. Yes. And like my mom was like that too. And I had other people, in my life who also said like a lot of toxic things to me. It was like certain friends, certain siblings. I won't name who, but when people say things to you growing up, it has a lasting effect into like your adult life, and you try to play catch up, by doing like these extreme things, and then you're like, why'd I do that? Like, and then you end up finding like the same people. If you don't solve the issue that you have with your parent, your sibling, your guardian, whatever it is, if you have a toxic parent or a narcissistic parent, whatever, if you go into adulthood and you don't solve that, or at least try, it will filter into new people that you meet, new friends. I know. And like literally, I probably can count on my hand 10 females who literally gave me the same issues that I had with my mother. Because I didn't solve anything. I didn't go to therapy. I didn't talk about it. I literally was flying by the seat of my pants and like living in the moment, like whatever made me happy. Not in like a promiscuous way or anything like that, but just in like the extreme like spending of money or, going out and doing all these, crazy over the top birthday parties or vacations. And you know that one, like we would go pretty much everywhere and spend all this money. Yeah. So it's because you think you miss out on so much. There's even people on TikTok who collect toys from their childhood because they had a bad childhood and they were denied those toys. So they buy them as adults. I do that too. And I think you do too, because I've bought him a couple things where he was like, I always wanted this. And they wouldn't give it to me because his brother wanted something else, so he was like, he got the first pickings, and then this one just got scraps. So
he just got string cheese in a juice box.
He did. So now, as an adult, he rebuys, or you never had it. I'm sorry. He buys the things that he wanted back then. And then he gets like this smile on his face and he lights up and he's like, oh my god,
his eyes are like glistening and like shining with stars in them. It's like
the Top Gun jacket.
I'm telling you. You got me that for Christmas.
I remember I had like a few of my old school friends that like they'll be telling me about like their moms, their parents, and I remember like I'll look back on them and then I'm like, wait a minute, like how come they're like not being yelled at or anything, or like having all this toxicity? It's like, why am I the only one? And they'll be like, I'll tell them about it and they would look at me with like wide eyes like, something's not right.
I remember, especially when they would like ask you like certain things, like, why are people speaking to you like that, or does that really happen, or Does that happen all the time? I know I was one of them because I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, I remember you were confused when I
was confused.
I was like telling it all to you, and your eyes were just wide and looking at me with confusion. Like,
This is when you like first opened up. You were a kid.
yeah,
You were probably like 10.
yeah,
You sat in my living room and you were talking to me about like a bunch of stuff. I had known you for like 4 years at that point because I met you when you were 6. But yeah, I remember that.
yeah,
I've watched you like go from confusing to wanting the truth to being mad to lashing out to being sad because you lashed out to being depressed because you lashed out, and now your anxiety, and now to the calmness that you have.
I'm at the calmness
Yeah.
now, so.
You've done really good.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of you.
Because I used to live with my mother, so this Alex's story I can completely relate to because I've left away from my mother as well because of all the toxicity. And she, of course, she doesn't admit that she has this toxicity. She doesn't
Gotcha.
admit it.
Yeah.
And a part of me really wishes that she would, but a part of me feels like she won't admit it unless, like, I say something about it. Because if she hears from a stranger that, like, oh, you're toxic, she probably wouldn't believe it. She'd probably just shrug it off and not think anything of it. Probably be mad at that person for, like, a good while.
Yeah.
But she would just, shrug it off as if nothing. But I feel like if her own daughter was to say that, then she would probably have, like, a different perspective from it. She would probably get, like, a different emotion, a different feeling.
I think so. We've talked about this,
Yeah.
before, and I think so. I think it hits different when it comes from like your kid. I know for me it would, when it came to Chomp Chomp. Like if she ever said anything, even remotely close to what you're saying, like to your mom, it would hit different for me. It wouldn't be like a slap in the face. It would be a dose of reality that I needed.
Yeah.
Because I don't ever want Kira to feel the way that I felt back then. So I always strive to like do better, but I always made sure to admit my mistakes and to take accountability and apologize when I did something out of the way that may have hurt her feelings or I came across wrong.
Yeah.
Like just like a couple weeks ago when you had like a moment in the car
Yeah.
and you kind of like lashed out and stuff, and like my eyes got huge and I slammed my door and I was like, man, I don't understand. So I sat outside for like a little bit and I was like, but I do understand because I've been there. And then I came back in and I talked to you because I don't ever want you or Chomp Chomp or any of the kids that come over to feel like your feelings don't matter or that you shouldn't be apologized to if something happens, because even though we're adults, we're still gonna make mistakes. Even though you're considerably an adult, you're still gonna make mistakes. But if you learn from them, you can grow from them, and it can be a lesson learned, and you can pretty much tell your story to someone else so they don't feel like they're crazy or like their feelings don't matter. So I feel like it's like a lesson learned. And I don't think that your mom means to come across a certain way.
Yeah.
I think that it's just a lot around her that makes her feel like she's alone, and she doesn't know how to like express that because she's never had that safe space enough to express how she's feeling. So she falls back into the same cycle that she grew up in, which is the lying and the lashing out and pretty much everything that you're talking about. And no, it's not an excuse for bad behavior because you shouldn't treat people bad no matter what.
Yeah.
But I think she just doesn't know how.
Yeah. And a part of
that's-
me
yeah.
wishes that she does.
I know. Me too. Me too. Like it's one of those things. It's kind of like a bittersweet thing. Like you can love somebody from afar, and that's what I chose to do. So I think I'll always have like love for your mom, because we got like a lot of good memories. Even though we got some bad ones, we got some good ones too.
I feel like there's a lot more good ones than there's bad ones.
We still got pictures and stuff. Like, I'll never delete those. I'll never burn those. I'll never get rid of like certain things that we shared. But I couldn't continue putting myself through the ringer, and it just being like a one-sided thing, because it wasn't, I guess, just like the environment that she was in, but it was also the work environment that she's in. And those, I wouldn't say like all of them, but most that are in her ear aren't helping her. They're kind of just like enabling the, I wouldn't say bad behavior, but they're enabling like the...
They're kind of like triggering.
Yeah, they're triggering it. They're like, you know, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with you. You didn't do anything wrong or stuff like that. That's not being a friend. Like, if you're going to be a friend to somebody, you need to be like, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. You know, like, we all, you know, have issues. We all have things that we're not proud of. But there's also things that you should work on as well as the person you're upset with.
Yeah. But
they don't do that. It's always like, oh, what can I say to continue fueling the fire that she's pissed off about? But that's like a whole different, you know, area of conversation. But that's how most toxic parents are. And it's not just toxic parents. It's like anybody that hasn't grown, because I think that, you know, Hoss can pretty much sit there and say that he was toxic at one point. I was toxic at one point. You can even say a couple times that you were. And I think that's good to hold yourself accountable and be like, shit, yeah, man, I had a lot of growing up to do. I made mistakes. But I'm here now. And I held myself accountable. And though I make mistakes still today, I won't make the same ones twice. Does that make sense? It makes sense, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just, I know that while growing up, I felt like I was, like, when I was a child, I felt like I pretty much had no control over my life at all, which it was kind of understandable. You know, I was a child, you know, I was short, had little arms, I had nothing really much to do. So, but while growing up and slowly getting into my teenage, I started to like feel more and more held captive. I started to feel like I pretty much didn't have a life. I felt like I wasn't given options of things I wanted to do. I felt like my voice was pretty much ignored, not really cared for that much, and it felt like I couldn't really talk or say anything about my feelings, because if I did, then I would have gotten backlash for it. I would have gotten attacked for announcing how I really felt.
Yeah.
So I had to keep all of my emotions, all my feelings, like, just held up together, and I couldn't share them out to anyone because I felt like no one would listen. Yeah. And then I would tell you, and then you were understanding because you went through like the same situation. So
yeah, and plus I think that like, I wouldn't say a lot of adults, but a good majority of them don't take kids' feelings into consideration a lot. They always sit there and say that, like, y'all are young, y'all shouldn't feel that way, y'all should enjoy being like a kid, and I'm like, yeah, but they're still human. Yeah. They're still going to have emotions. Like, even if you don't want them to, they're still going to have them.
We have blood, flesh, and bones in our system.
Exactly.
Everyone's the same.
Everybody's the same. So, even at a really, really young age for Chomp, she probably had, like, her first panic attack when Steve went into the hospital for his diabetes. Excuse me. That's it. Sun-kissed. My bad. So, but she probably had like her first panic attack when she was 4. Yeah. And she was in pre-K. So that shows you, even at like an early age, that you can still feel the same thing as an adult. I'm not quite sure where someone comes from as far as sitting there saying that oh, don't think like that. You know, you're only, let's just throw like a number out there. You're only 9 years old. You shouldn't feel that way. That's like an adult thing. And I'm like,
no, not really.
Validate how they feel, you know,
Yeah.
so they don't feel like they have to shut down their feelings, and then they let it fester, and then they start feeling more alone than ever. So for Kira, like, I recognized that. I was like, oh man, she's having a panic attack because she didn't want to leave Steve in the hospital, but like he had to stay. So she felt a certain way about that. She's like, oh my God, is he gonna die? Like it was bad. It was bad. It was just a bad time.
I remember the first time I had a panic attack. It was when my mother and my grandmother were having an argument over something stupid. And I remember I was sitting on the couch and I was just shaking and crying, and like I didn't know how to feel. I was just sitting there panicking.
Yeah.
Like the inside of my brain was like shaking. Like I didn't know how to feel, what to do in that situation, other than just kind of sit there and cry and pray and hope that the arguing would stop. And over time, it eventually did. But there were a few times where arguments would happen, and it was always over stupid, small problems that wouldn't even be 100% a problem. It would just be like a small thing that happened, like a small event. And it would just be like, oh, like, there would be, like, I remember one of the moments of the argument was because the dog got a hold of something.
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
It was because my grandmother started to comfort the dog, and something in my grandmother clicked that made her upset, made her mad, and
I think you said that something was said, like, you know, don't comfort the dog or something. Yeah, I remember that. That was a few years back. Yeah, and it triggered her. Well, that does show you the cycle of events, like how it can escalate so quickly because it stems from something else. So whatever, you know, your grandma was going through during like her 20s or her teens or what have you, probably something happened to where she felt like she wasn't heard, or maybe she wasn't held like accountable for like the bad stuff, so she just kept doing it, and it could have stemmed from that, and that's why probably your mom has a hard time communicating. So it's always something, you know. It's never not nothing.
It's always something, especially something small. It's always something small. It's never something that's like out there and like in people's faces. It's just like a small thing that happened, and then it's like the person's anger controls over them, and like they can't take control over it. They have to let their anger out on someone. Yeah. And I remember throughout the years of me growing up, when my mother would get upset or mad, she would put her anger out on me. She would yell at me. She would do like an exaggerated sigh almost all the time. If something was happening and it wasn't going her way, she would do her sigh, and then she would walk over to the couch and just kind of lay there. And I mean, I was petrified of her. A part of me was scared of my mom, while the other side wanted to stand up to her. But at the same time, I didn't want to stand up to my mother. I think we have that fear of our parents, you know, when we're younger. Not always necessarily from like, you know, them putting like their hands on us or anything like that, or like disciplining us, but it's like it's ingrained in us from a early age to respect like our elders. So we're like, oh my God, like how far does like respect, you know, get to a point where you fear them? I don't know like where that came, except for the moments where like I wasn't validated for how I was feeling because of my age, or because I was a child, or because back then we were told that children were supposed to be seen and not heard. So it was kind of crazy back then. But it's crazy as far as like the early 2000s too, because, you know, we hear from all sorts of,
I can't even say kids her age anymore, young adults, because she's gonna be,
I know.
I just can't believe it.
I
Okay.
know. 18, turn 19 in a few days.
I'm not gonna believe it. Anyway, young adults that tell us pretty much about the same story as you. And they grew up in the same sense as us. The 90s were harsher. But y'all still had your own form of, harshness as well. So it's just, it's a dangerous, dangerous rabbit hole to get into. So I'll try to make it as plain and simple as possible. For some odd reason, a certain situation or a certain thing will trigger us to believe that we should be scared of like our parents. And for me, is when my mom yelled.
Yeah.
So when she yelled, like for some odd reason, that triggered, don't ever say anything like that again.
Yeah.
And if I don't say that again, she will not get upset. And I can make her happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can make her happy if I don't do that thing again. So that's long story short, because I could go down a rabbit hole with that one. But I think that triggers that child mentality of, if I don't do that again, she won't get mad like she just did.
Yeah, you learn to adapt situations. It's the same thing when you do, something, say, at your job or at school, any aspect of life with that. You do something where you get repercussions or you get punished for it, so your brain automatically reconfigures you to say, hey, don't do that again because this was the outcome. So you do the same thing when your parent comes at you or you get in trouble for something. You as a kid, that's how you learn. You go up to a stove and your parent tells you don't touch the stove because it'll burn you. And then they turn their back and you touch the stove and realize it hurts really good. So your brain turns around and says, hey, that's hot, don't do it again. And it actually reprograms your thinking process to, hey, I'm not doing that again because it hurt. It's the same thing with, the toxicity from, your parents or your siblings or, this, that, the other. If your mother comes at you and you ask for, hey, can I have one of your sodas, and you get yelled at for no reason, then you learn to not ask for that soda again. You learn to do without it. As bad as it is, that's how the parents are these days. And at this, not everybody, but this particular situation, it sounds quite like it. And it goes across multiple platforms too. With narcissists and stuff like that. Especially like kind of like where I came from. It was you ask for help doing something and you get backlash. Well, after a couple times of getting backlash, asking for help or trying to express things, you learn not to do it because it's easier to hide it away, or so it is. So you think it's easier to hide away your feelings than it is to bring them up and receive the backlash. One, it's enabling the narcissist or enabling the toxic parent to treat you bad, but at the same time, it's putting a big strain on your mental health. Yeah. And that's, in this case, that's kind of where it's at. If you're, you should respect your parents because they brought you into this, but at the same time, you don't have to respect their decision to treat you bad. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's one thing to do something you're literally not supposed to do. Oh, you took a Sharpie, and decided you were going to color the TV. Okay, you're going to get punished, or you purposely, broke something, when you were told not to, and you did it anyway because, well, you're a kid. You're going to get punished. But if you're doing everyday normal things, everyday human responses, like we'll use, hey, you walk up to your mother who is, sitting down and relaxing, and you say, hey, what's for dinner? Because I'm kind of hungry. And they turn around and snap at you and get aggravated. That's not okay. That's toxicity at its finest. There was no reason to get mad. So your brain reprogrammed you and said, well, now I'm not going to ask because I got yelled at.
That's what I
So
said.
I'm going to go somewhere else. And for, I know people, we won't mention any names, but I know people who did that, who came out and said, asked their mother, hey, what's for dinner? I'm kind of hungry, got lashed at. So then they went and found food, without asking, and got screamed at in that fashion too. It's like, oh, what? It's like, wait a second here. You get confused and you're like, I can't do anything right because if I ask what's for dinner or I ask for food, you yell at me. But if I go get food on my own, then you yell at me and saying, hey, I was going to cook dinner. So you can't, you're in a rock and a hard place because you're like, well, no matter what I do, it's the wrong answer in your eyes. And I really don't have any way to get a hold of that because as a kid, it's you're kind of somewhat at the mercy of the wolves, but at the same time, you have to. There's a fine line, for me, I broke the cycle when I was younger. It was my first thing. I dealt with it until I was, 15, 16 years old of constantly being left out or going to the store and watching, my brother get this brand new Nintendo console. And all I asked for was, some Legos. Well, then my sister got something and I got a candy bar, and that I didn't even really ask for. I just kind of picked it up and put it back down. So I said, you know what? I'm 16. I'm of age to get a job. I started looking for a job. I made my own money. I got my own car, even though my brother and sister, got handed vehicles because, you need this. I paved my own way to the point of where I was able to. I stayed busy between going to school, and then the minute I got out of school, I came home and went straight to work, and it gave me my ethic, and it gave me escape because by the time I got off work to come home, it was practically bedtime, long enough for me to shower, eat, and go to bed, and then started all over again at least 5-6 days a week. It was my way of escaping the neglect. So that might be some advice to go for. If you're a younger teen who can't really get a job or this, that, the other, I would say maybe try to find a way to have a sleepover or try to find a way to cell phones are really big. So, just look out for self-help groups. You don't have to, verify anything, or you can be completely anonymous. Or stay with a relative. Ask them, be like, hey, can I go, it's summer break. Can I go stay with, Aunt whoever? Or, go stay with my cousin if you got one close. Or, go stay with grandma for a couple days. It'll get you out of the limelight and get you into another environment to where you can take a break and take a breather. But don't use it as a time to lash out either. Yeah. Because ultimately, wherever you go, the eyes are going to be on you. So if you go to another place and start complaining about how things are at home, then that's going to get back and make it worse for you. So along with to go with the toxicity of the parenting, there's unfortunately that's a hard road to battle because it's so common nowadays. There's so many. You can go out in a world today and just sit on a park bench and observe the families, and I guarantee 1 out of every 5 families you'll pick up narcissistic or gaslighting or love bombing traits in every single one of them.
Yeah. And you gotta look out for the people that are loosely using those terms.
Oh yeah.
Not everybody is a narcissist. Not everybody is toxic. Sometimes, things are just going to happen like in family life or what have you. So don't loosely use those terms just because you're not getting along with somebody or you don't like what they're saying to you.
We know people like that. Yeah. We know people that are, you tried to tell them that they could do something better and they immediately flip the script and be like, oh, I heard this word and I have no idea what it means, but you're gaslighting me and you're a narcissist because I'm not agreeing with you. Those people are a different breed. They are the narcissists themselves. They are trying to take what you're saying as a attack. So in return, they gaslight you and try to manipulate you. But they don't actually know. And we've brought this up to a few people about loosely using those terms because it's one of the abusers that we know. Had no earthly idea about narcissists, had no idea about gaslighting and love bombing, and all this other good stuff. So when she heard it from someone at work and did a smidgen of research on it.
Yeah.
She did a smidgen of research on it. So the next time we seen her, and we said something about what we were feeling or how things were going, she jumped on that bandwagon quick and was like, hey, look, this is a new word I heard, and you're trying to correct me on something. Even though I'm wrong, you're trying to correct me, so you're gaslighting me, and I didn't think you were like that. I thought you were my friend. I thought I could count on you, without even knowing what it meant, because she didn't take the time to listen to someone giving her, hey, this is what it actually means.
No.
Yeah.
And even to this day, she still doesn't quite understand it.
Unfortunately, he's correct.
So yeah, not to digress, but it's kind of hard, because I've seen it firsthand, I've seen it secondhand, and I've heard about it all around the globe. Every place that I've been, there's toxic parents out there that, and it doesn't have to be mothers; it could be fathers. There's plenty of fathers out there who, oh man, I've actually heard a kid I grew up with. His dad was super toxic. The mother asked him to go cut the grass, and he screamed at her and said, I do everything for this family, and you want me to cut the grass too. I can't do everything, when in all reality, his dad didn't literally just went to work, made money, and came back home and sat on the couch drinking beer and watching TV until he passed out in the chair.
Yeah.
So that's not really providing for your family. That's collecting a paycheck. That's, and it was toxic because anytime my buddy tried to ask him to play with them and spend time with them, he would make excuses and kick them to the curb, or he would yell at him and say, not right now, the game's on, or something like that. Your stereotypical absent father.
The drunk dad.
Yeah, the drunk dad that's into sports and goes to work and works 9 to 5 in a blue collar job and comes home and that's all he does, expecting his wife to pick up the slack. It's kind of crazy. Actually, him and his dad don't talk no more at all. And I can't even remember the last time they talked, but they don't speak, they don't live together, and as bad as it is, his dad missed out on everything, missed out on his high school career, missed out on his current career, missed out on his military career. He missed out on everything, and he has no one to blame but himself. So it's a hard road, because they're your parents and you gotta love them, but at the same time you don't have to be disrespected by them, because respect is earned, it's not given.
Yeah.
When you're growing,
a lot of people consider, a lot of the old school generation will consider that disrespectful.
I hate that term.
I hate it.
Old school, yeah.
Yeah.
You're old school.
They're like, oh my God, y'all should know better in your generation to sit there and ask for respect. I shouldn't have to give it for you to give me respect. And that's it's the audacity for me. Yeah. Because they wouldn't want to be treated like that,
Yeah.
And that's what it sums up to. If you don't want to be treated that way or spoken to that way or someone taking you like that, then don't do it to other people.
Yeah.
It's simple.
This whole, that term old school kind of gets to me, because they're humans in general have adapted and created a new way of life, if you will, to do things. You know, if you use the term old school, be like, oh, I'm old school. I believe, in, a man is a man, a woman is a woman. They get married, and have a family. That's the way it's supposed to be. Then you are a closed-minded individual. You have no creativity. You have no imagination. And chances are you're not happy. It was a different time, back in, quote unquote, the old days. Just because something happened to you when you were a kid, even like us, it's when I was growing up at the time, it was okay to beat your kid, if they messed up. I got hit with belts, I got hit with frying pans, I got hit with spoons, whatever was around. My mother actually, I messed up in school and got into a fight, and when I got home, my mother made me walk outside to the bush and grab a branch off the bush and beat me with it and put me in a corner until dinner time. I ate dinner and I went straight to bed. That was it. Back then, those are the old days, and it's changed a lot, because at the time you didn't see it. You seen it as corrective punishment. In today's society, it's no longer corrective punishment because the mental stability of the current household is so far gone that you're taking a corrective behavior and using it as an outlet.
Yep.
Because of whatever whatever's happening to you at the time, whether you actually have, a configuration issue upstairs or if you're overstressed at work. And there's a lot of people, like that. You go to work all day and people push your buttons and treat you bad and you have no outlet. You come home to the screaming kids or, the dishes piled up or something like that. So you're angry, and then your kid knocks a glass off the table and next thing you know, you smack the hell out of them. That's not okay. It's just not okay. So it's crazy to see how the world has evolved.
Yeah.
So not to digress or anything, but it's toxic parents are some of the worst out there.
Yeah. And you gotta be proud, of Moxie for opening up and stuff.
Yeah, that takes some big...
It does.
The first step in mental healing and mental clarity is admitting the abuse.
Yeah.
You can't always expect, the abuser to admit it and accept the wrongdoing, but you yourself can get out or stay away or occupy your time elsewhere so you don't have to be around it.
That's what I did. I occupied myself a lot.
Yep.
I used video games as a way to get away from the reality I was living in.
Yes, that's the first step, is to isolate yourself away from the spotlight.
Yeah.
And then once you're old enough or once you've found alternate methods to get out, you can go and then speak about it because you're no longer in that household. You're no longer, subjected to that because now the power is in your hands because you have left. That's the first step of mental clarity and peace, is admitting the abuse, talking about it, getting through it. And you'll find out that once you realize that there are so many other people out there who have not spoken about it and you lead the path, like Moxie, the first time she was on talking about toxic parenting, a close friend of ours, her kids heard the podcast and was like, oh man, that makes me feel a certain type of way. And they had a long family discussion from what they heard and talked about it, and ultimately Moxie opened up a pathway, for teenagers in an abusive parental situation.
Yeah.
You know, so she paved the way for a certain age group. You know, it's the same thing with, you know, with us. You know, we paved the way for other people in toxic marriages and, you know, narcissistic gaslighting.
And I feel like Alex is one of the people that I opened a pathway for.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alex
technically
wrote,
she did.
Yeah, Alex wrote us because of Moxie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And we've
kudos.
had a bunch of emails about it and stuff too. So I think it's great because I would have never done that at your age ever. I was still in the zone of
AutoZone.
AutoZone. Autopilot.
Autopilot.
Yep. You know, be completely quiet and then you won't upset nobody. You know, take your mind off of it and stuff like that by distracting yourself with other things. Mine was, you know, Mario Kart Double Dash on GameCube.
Mine was isolation itself. And I remember I had a few of my family members would ask, like, why were you in your room so much? Why would you be alone a lot? And I didn't know how to tell them at the time of the situation I was in. So my response to them would be, I love isolation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just-
you mask the actual issue because you know if you speak up, it's going to be twice as bad.
Yeah.
And now, due today with where I'm at now, I can speak about my situations or the problems I was dealing with.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't let anybody take that from you or make you feel like you shouldn't feel what you're feeling.
Yeah.
Continue to speak your truth. That's amazing.
Validation is a big key for survivors.
Yeah.
You know, because it only takes one person to say, hey, I believe you, or hey, I understand, to change the course of that person's life. And that's what we're doing with this podcast, is trying to reach people to let them know that they have friends out there. They have people that believe them. They have people that listen and take it in and give advice. You know, you're never alone. You know, if you're going through something or you're in an abusive situation, just know chances are there's somebody out there that's gone through exactly what you're going through or is currently in the same situation, and just touching base with that person or sending a message to the podcast, chances are, given the circumstances, we've been through something similar or something the same, or we know someone who is, and we can shed light on it, you know, and give you that validation that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I do have advice for young viewers out there that are dealing with toxic parents or dealing with the situation that both me and Alex dealt with. Think of life as like a jawbreaker. It'll be tough to get through at first, but once you get to the core or the epicenter of it, everything will then run smoothly.
Yeah, there's no time frame for it.
Yeah.
There's no protocol that you're supposed to go through. There's no, you know, manual to, hey, this is what you're supposed to do, the steps you're supposed to take. You heal in your own time and in your own way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
No, Forrest. But
Forrest.
we might end it there since, you know, it's been almost an hour.
Since you looked at me.
And we got to post this thing before people start rioting.
I know. Riot Society.
Give us the podcast.
Well, thank you, Moxie, for
of course.
sharing your story, for coming back on. We appreciate you. Keep coming back on for us.
I
We
will.
enjoy it.
I know
We
the
get a lot of
viewers-
emails.
The viewers certainly, you know, will enjoy it. Hearing
They're still
familiar
asking
voice.
about your OnlyFans.
It's not happening. They don't pay enough.
But you're so handsome.
You gotta memorandum. OnlyFans cost so much money because you gotta promote your license and everything else. So
Oh, wow.
you know, it's
But
not
he's
free.
looked it up, so that's a positive thing. It means that
Hey,
he's
just
going
send-
to
just
try
send a
for you
picture-
guys.
Just post a picture of your bicep.
Thirst trap.
Okay, you guys, y'all stay safe out there. And sorry for it being late, but we're here. We have it.
Yeah. And I'm back, so I'm here, alive, and well and healthy now.
And Oz will get his OnlyFans up for you.
Stay safe, everyone.
Yep,
and
stay
remember,
safe.
we love you.
Yep.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much for the support.
You could at least give him hope.
Hey, yo.
We love all of you.
You know, my Cash App is, I'm just kidding.
He'll send them. Just this is his Cash App for him. I'm kidding.
So we're gonna send about $20. Here you go.
See, even she knows.
Hey, I can't
And
help
just
it.
do the QR code, okay? They'll start paying you.
I can't help it. People get nervous.
You're gonna get like 1,000 notifications.
I know.
This
What if you
person
get like
sent you
$1,000,
This
man,
person
and they're
sent
just
you
all like,
20.
"Show us your bicep."
This person sent you 15.
Show you my finger. No.
Show them the good one.
These goods are for are for one woman only.
Oh, wow. Guys, I have to be in the same exact room and hear all of this. This is just beautiful.
But he's so sweet. Okay. She's like, I don't care if he's sweet.
Vomiting.
Okay. My bad. No sweetness. All right.
I mean, yeah, some
Until
sweetness, but
next
just
Wednesday. Stay safe.
Oh, next Wednesday we'll be on vacation. So
Well, it'll be scheduled though, because
Yeah.
we're gonna record it for you guys before Wednesday, and then we'll just schedule
Yep.
it for you.
beach bound.
Beach
'Cause
bound.
we're gonna be going
Look
to
out
the
for the
beach.
beach pictures, and
Yep.
I don't know what our next one's gonna be, so we're just gonna wing it, just in case we can't get that certain somebody up on there.
Yeah. Well,
We're gonna
maybe
wing
we
it.
can
We're
get
gonna
her-
surprise you. Okay, it'd be like a
Yeah.
surprise mystery box.
It's gonna be like an early, like,
Yeah.
Christmas gift.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
really, really
Keep your
early
eye out
Christmas
for our
Christmas in
cards too,
July.
because they are scattered.
Yeah, keep an eye for our
yes.
cards, and we're looking into merchandise.
Yes.
Yup.
Oh, I want to help make some shirts and stuff
Oh yeah.
with my art.
Yes.
I want to make like some art.
That would be cool. That would be cool as shit.
Yeah.
I'm just
Put the
saying.
touch. Maybe she could come up with like a. Back in the day we had clip arts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I remember
maybe she
that.
could come up with some sort. I'm pretty sure on that extensive computer she could come up with something and be like, hey, look, this is Moxie is my name, so incorporate that into a picture, almost like a tattoo, and that's her logo.
That would be cool.
Put it up like on the corner.
Her eyes are getting huge. She goes, "Oh."
I could do like a
The possibilities.
I could do like a pink like character wearing the headphones, having the mic, and it'll say like Trash Talk VA podcast.
Yup.
Indubitably.
Look at that.
Well,
That'd be really nice.
for
Okay.
now.
Until next week.
Yep.
Stay safe. Look out for
Farewell.
beach pictures. We're going to the beach. Woo! Woo!
And you
Let's
guys
go
have
get
fun
away.
during
Stay
y'all's
safe.
summertime as well.
Yep.
Don't forget.
Go out there.
Yep. Go out in the
Explore.
sun. Throw yourself into the ocean.
Yeah, get some of that vitamin D.
Yeah.
Just swim responsibly.
Yes.
Yep.
Don't wear blue swimsuits.
Yes.
Nobody will be
Oh,
able
yeah,
to pick you
that's
out
a
of the
big
water.
thing. There
Do
was a
neon like colors,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
neon
bright
pink
and vibrant colors
and yellow.
because it's not so much
Yeah.
that the water itself is blue, but the background and everything else. You put a kid in the pool and
Yep.
it's
And
hot
don't
out of the
inhale
pool.
no water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No water.
Dry drowning is a thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Safety.
Yeah.
Safety first. And
Safety
go out there,
first.
man. Explore the summer before it starts getting into my favorite holiday.
Yeah, and get good food.
Yeah.
Yes. Eat a lot of good foods.
All right, everybody, we're gone.
We love y'all.
Deuces.
Mwah.